What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in again to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Before we get started, let's hear a few words from our sponsors. Please buy the new book by Arika Nicole Moore, Diabolical Tales of Woe. Diabolical Tales of Woe is a thrilling collection of short horror stories that leave you in an excited trepidation to see what will happen next. Prepare to face one horrific encounter after the next in this captivating novel. You can find this book on Amazon in the Kindle and paperback version. That is Diabolical Tales of Woe by Arika Nicole Moore.
Moments matter. Make them timeless. For every celebration, every milestone, and every special moment, make it timeless with the rich, velvety, smooth taste of Timeless Vodka. Make sure you check them out at www.timelessvodka.com.
I got to kick this thing off. Yeah. Can I kick it off? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% black all the time. Please follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Man Listen Show. You can also find the show on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. Please share the show and make sure you use the hashtag ManListen. I'm your host, Mar B. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. C, what's up with you?
Hey, what's good?
Everything's good. Everything's good. Arika, how you doing?
I'm good. What's up?
Oh, not much. And last but not least, my boy Lad. What's up with you, man?
What's going on? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. Doing good.
Good.
COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on the United States. Not only has it taken a toll on our health both physically and mentally, but it is having an effect on us financially as well. When the housing market crashed in 2008, Black America in particular was devastated. We're seeing now, as this pandemic continues its path of destruction, the Black community is once again being hit extra hard. To talk about what we can do to protect ourselves financially, we have a special guest, certified financial planner, Mr. Armand Kroom. Mr. Kroom, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you, sir.
All right. So tell us about your business. Tell us about your business and how you help people.
Well, I run two businesses. One, I run a financial planning practice that I've been doing since October 2004, so over 15 years. And then I also run a blog because I actually only work with a select few of clients. And so I wanted to extend my reach to other people with helping them with their budget and helping them really think about what they're doing in their life and why they want to do things with their money, and just trying to help them make smarter decisions with their money. And so my website is thefinancialeffect.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You can join my group, but we plan on doing some more things and popping off, trying to help people get their money in line, especially during these hard economic times.
Now, on social media, you said Instagram and Facebook. Is it The Financial Effect?
Yes, sir, it is.
Go ahead and spell it out for the people so they know exactly how to find it.
All right, let's see here. It is www.financial, FINANCIAL, effect, EFFECT.com.
All right. So make sure we want our listeners to go and follow you. And I already follow you on Facebook, and it really is a good amount of information, important information. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show. So go ahead and get started, man. You know, it's often said when America catches a cold, Black America catches pneumonia. And like everybody else, I've been staying up to date what's going on with COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, and how it's affecting us. And I saw how just in my current home state of Texas, there was like over 700,000 unemployment claims. People are being furloughed, asked to take pay cuts, or just being outright laid off. What do you see, in your opinion, what do you see as the biggest threat to us as a black community financially because of this global pandemic?
Well, obviously it's hurting the black community the hardest because we are, predominantly in, well, not predominantly, but a lot of us is in the, hourly jobs. And so when restaurants are closing and essential workers going away, it's having a hard time staying up with the budget, staying up with the income, and things of that nature. The other way that it's affecting us is I'm seeing, especially on the news, that African Americans are predominantly in the essential jobs, being forced to be out there with the COVID-19. So it's us that is getting sick. It's us being in the hospital. So it'd be interesting to see how that affects us as far as our medical bills, our health, and things of that nature. We're also the ones dying the most from COVID-19 across the world. So I'm also keeping an eye on that. As far as finances go, I mean, the advice is always pretty much the same. We're going to get through this eventually, but hopefully we learn our lessons as far as, maintaining a budget, maintaining our finances, investing, which I find, a lot of people don't know a lot about. Hence why I was trying to get people, get out there a little bit more and talk to people about things that they can do.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes back to privilege, right? And there are some of us in the black community who had the privilege. We were fortunate enough or blessed enough to be able to go to college, get an education, so where we could secure a job where you can work from home, right? And you don't have to be out and be considered, quote unquote, an essential worker. Some of the minimum wage workers who are having to man the grocery stores, man the restaurant drive-throughs, do the different things that expose them to this virus. I saw a picture in New York where one of the subway trains was packed to the gills, and it was full of black people. Some had on gloves, some had on masks, and people were getting on their high horse and talking bad, like, why are they still doing this? And I'm like, it's easy for us who can sit at home and not have to go in and can do work from home to say that when there's people who can't take off from work and the only way they can get somewhere is public transportation. And we know public transportation is, like a petri dish, everybody touching everything. And I heard they were cutting the services, so the amount of times that the trains were running were less. So you had to pack in more. And it just seems that it puts us more at risk, not being able to have that long-term generational wealth that we could pass along and to promote education with our children. Now we're seeing the effects of how lack of wealth is really puts us in a position to be in danger in this country. What do you think about that?
I think right now, one of the big things that we need to do or really talk about is the change in mentality and our relationship with money. Studies have shown, or right now they're doing studies with the New York Times that basically saying, staying at home is basically a privileged game or a wealthy man's game. So if you're not having a lot of money, you can't just stay at home. I mean, you got to go out to work. You got to feed your family. You got to eat.
Right.
So it's definitely a privileged thing. But we need to figure out a way to, own our own businesses, figure out ways so that we can be self-employed, be our own bosses. And if you're not, put yourself in the best possible position so that if you are in a situation where you do need to be home financially, you are set up ready to do that.
Right.
And then that goes along with trying to live below your means, trying to sock away a little bit of money, trying to make smart decisions with your money, and trying to make sure that you are not putting you in a position where you're trying to impress people that don't need to be impressed.
Okay, well, you mentioned that a lot of people who are essential workers might benefit from being able to put themselves in a position where they're self-employed or their own boss. What would you say to people who are self-employed or their own boss who can't really get work right now, who are dealing with fluctuating income? What can those people do to try to adjust their budget, not just now, but maybe in the future, so that they don't have the same type of problems that some of us are experiencing now?
Man, that's a really good question. A lot of the questions I think you guys are going to have is almost going to be a little too late right now. Like right now, you just going to have to like kind of figure it out and work the best way you can to get past this. But especially self-employed people, I love working with self-employed people because for self-employed, and I'm a self-employed person, it's all about a cash flow game. The name is cash flow, right?
Right.
And so when you're self-employed, you know, 1 month you might get $2,000. The next month you might get 5,000. Next one you might get 15, and then a couple of months later you might get to $2,000. You know, it really just depends on the sales, the commissions, or whatever the case may be. And so on my website, that's where I talk about, you know, how to budget without being a budget, how to do a budget without having to budget. I teach people how to maintain their budget by setting up separate accounts. So me personally, as a business owner, I'm going to try to have a business savings account so that if I have like one of my $2,000 a month checks, I still pay my family the same amount per month. So, you know, for instance, if, you know, just throw a number out there, if I pay my family $3,000 a month, I'm going to try to save up enough money so that if I have low income for a while, that I can pay my family that $3,000 a month for a good minute.
Right.
And so for self-employed people, you know, you shouldn't be buying a car if you ain't got the cash to buy the car. You know, you really need to think long and hard about buying that house if if it's going to be a struggle for you to keep that house. You know, some people would say, you know, don't buy the house until you have cash. I don't know about that. But once you get into your business and you really realize how much money you can make even on a bad day, then you know what you can actually afford. People, they understand what they can and cannot afford. We graduate from college and think we need to get the Mercedes, when really we should be driving the Chevy or the Toyota. I still got my 2005 Toyota Camry sitting out front right now. So, and I drive a Mazda CX-9. I don't need a Mercedes, and I don't need no Lexus and none of that stuff. Right. So it's a cash flow game. Yeah. And so when they get out of this, one of the things that they really need to focus in on is training themselves to stay within a certain level of budget. And so if the minimum income is, you know, $3,000 a month or whatever your minimum income, you need to kind of try to stay within that and build up savings, practice building up savings so that if we go through this again, you know what the struggle is. Because my issue with it, and I was just talking the other day, is we have a recession every 10 years. So once we get through this, another one's going to come. So now you need to practice paying off your debt. Now you need to practice staying within your budget. Now you need to know, okay, well, if the ship is going down, what do I do? What can I cut? What's the first thing I'm going to cut? Am I taking my kids out of private school? Yep. Are we cutting this? Yep. We going to cut all, you know, you have to have it in your head what exactly we need to do to get to that level where if I need to sell something on the side of the street, I'm going to at least get this amount of money. Yep. I'm going to at least do this.
I got you. Yeah, you're right.
So I know a lot of us before this pandemic were focused on paying down debt rather than adding extra funds to our savings account. For individuals who are focused on getting their finances in order, like paying down debt, would this be a good time to negotiate with your debtors?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get laid off. So this is the hard thing to talk to people about. And so, you know, being in this game for about 15 years, you know, I went through 2008. And so one of the things you have to decide is, what are you going to pay? So you just got laid off of your job, right? I got my car payment. I got my mortgage. I got credit card debts, this, that, and the other. You're going to have to decide what not to pay. Credit card may not be the one you're going to pay. So you call them up and say, hey, I got laid off. I ain't got the money. You going to work with me or you not going to work with me? Because one way you might get something, and the other way you ain't getting nothing. And that's fair. They like to say we all in this together. So when you call the credit card company, how are we in this together? Explain it to me. You know, are you going to let me defer my payments for a while? Are you going to not charge me interest? What are you going to do to kind of help me? And and for you, I would say if a credit card company does, you know, extend that help, try to show some loyalty to them. And for those credit card companies that don't, you know, I won't work with Wells Fargo for a number of reasons, but I hate Wells Fargo. They're evil. And so, but Wells Fargo, you can stop paying them now. You know, you can hear my voice. Stop paying them now.
I got you.
Can I get that in writing that somebody told me that?
See, he gonna be in trouble.
I'm gonna be in trouble, right? See,
Yeah.
No, I'm playing. I'm like, I'm with you on the Wells Fargo thing. I try not. I try to avoid.
You know what? I'm like that with them. I'm like that with Bank of America. Anybody who has proven in the past, and the list is long, to have done stuff to have taken advantage of us as a people, I don't really fool with them. And Wells Fargo and Bank of America, they both have been on the wrong side of that when it comes to black people. And I agree. I agree with you, man, and I agree with C. At this moment in time, I was all on the pay down debt, live within your means, and all of that. But at this point in time, in my personal opinion, you tell me if I'm wrong, you the expert. Cash is king. So as much cash as I can stack in savings to make sure that if something happens and we're safe, that I got something to fall back on. That's the priority right now for me. Is that a good way of thinking, or you think a different direction?
It depends on everyone's situation. I'm still paying my credit cards because I can afford to do that, and I'm not leery of losing my income. So it just depends on your situation. But if you're out of work and you're struggling just to get by, yes, cash is king. Like, if you're not sure if you're gonna be able to make next month's rent, don't be trying to pay credit card debt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the last case scenario is, we went through this through 2008, and it's hard because a lot of people have a lot of pride. They didn't want to lose their homes and things of that nature, and that's another reason why, like, especially African Americans, they lost a lot of wealth in their home, which that's a discussion for another time because I don't really think buying a home is the best way of building wealth, but I digress. People are trying to make payments on their mortgage payment when they should have stopped a long time ago.
Right.
And squatted and renegotiated. Just like you're talking about with credit card debt, they should have renegotiated their home loans because when everybody was losing their homes, or a lot of people weren't able to make their mortgage payment, they became overwhelmed. I mean, are you going to take my home? Whose home you going to take? And then on top of that, like, if I can't afford the payment and I've lost my job and I need to go back to renting, then that's what you need to do. Don't throw more money into a dying entity and lose it. So it really just depends on your situation. If you can afford to make your mortgage payment, then make your mortgage payment. If you can do it comfortable, but at the same time, I would have also told you, if I was your advisor, can you really afford that home?
I think
right?
For us as black people, y'all let me know if you disagree. There's a lot of pride that comes in our community, and sometimes it manifests its way in keeping up with the Joneses. You mentioned like having the Mercedes Benz, having your kids in private school, doing all those things. Whereas, when we couldn't do the things that really helped us accumulate wealth, we were boxed out of, like owning a home, things of that nature. We went to material possessions to try to show, okay, we're making it, we're doing better than other people. I remember as a kid growing up, if you filed bankrupt, they put your name in the newspaper in our hometown. See, the Topeka Capital Journal. I remember it, like my parents reading the newspaper and they said, "Oh, Junebug filed for bankruptcy." Like, how you know? They put it in the newspaper. So nobody wanted to go through that shame of being out there to say, "No, I can't make it." But it wasn't until I got older and I went to business school that I understand that things like bankruptcy, things like you're talking about in terms like if I just can't pay it, those are tools that people use all the time. You know what I'm saying? Look at the big corporations. Look at the airlines. They like,
look at the president of the United States.
Look at the
right?
Please, yes. See what I'm saying?
I would say the president.
Yes.
Right. Everybody was thinking it.
Right. So, I think it just comes from pride and I think a lack of knowledge.
I would tell you this. People come in and they do a budget. And honestly, I put a cap on, with my system, I put a cap on them living off of more money. And I track how many times you get a pay increase, every time you get a promotion, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, so you made $1,000 extra? You make $1,000? Sweet. All right, where are we going to put that money? We're going to put that $1,000 a month in the da-da-da-da-da, right? You're not going to put that into your everyday spending. You're going to put that in savings. And so as we do that, what ends up happening is I advise people to have $5,000 in emergency savings. $5,000, because you've been told for you should have 3 to 6 months worth of savings, right? which sounds insane, right? 3 to 6 months? You want me to have 3 to 6 months? And so what I do for my clients is they actually do have 3 to 6 months. They just don't realize it because I kind of got it in a different place. So one of the things I do is we create all these different type of investment accounts. And essentially I have them put money in what is called a non-retirement account and let the money grow over years. And then as they get increases, we will increase the amount of money going into that account. And then eventually they'll have 3 to 6 months, but and then some. And so one of the things that African Americans really need to do is basically get themselves living without a budget, but also get them to automatically save their money on a monthly basis, put off to the side. So when you get that pay increase, you take that right out of your check and put it in an investment or savings account where you don't touch it at all. Because my thought process is you was living off without that money just last month. You just was living without that last month. You don't need that money. You don't need that money. And so one of the mindsets that we need to change is, and I kind of tipped on this, I don't find buying a house as a wealth creator. I feel like that's kind of a lie too. Don't get me wrong. Y'all looking at me in my house. So don't get it twisted. But I want you to not think of this as some kind of asset, because it's not. Because I don't know if you guys are in your homes right now, but last time I checked, my house ain't putting no money in my pocket. None. It's taking money out, but it ain't putting no money in. And then on top of that, when you sell your home, what are you usually doing after you sell your home? Buying another one.
Yeah.
So how is that creating wealth for you? So what we really need to be thinking about is how to put money in investments, how to buy rental property. Now, a rental property is actually an asset, because when I buy that rental property, someone goes in, pays rent, and pays me money. And that's residual income that comes to me. That's actual asset. That's an actual paying me money. That's the thing that we need to be focused on. When you create your own business, you also got to think about how you get residual income from that business, and kind of like this podcast and things of that nature. How do I create residual income coming from what I'm doing? Then that's the money I can count on. That's how you build wealth.
When you're talking about buying a home, it stood out to me kind of what you were saying a few minutes ago, Marv, about us being a generation behind. We're trying to do what the white people did. That's how they gain their wealth. But typically, if you buy a house, then your home values automatically are not going to be as high as the white people who bought the same house before you. So you're automatically losing money in the deal. So I just started thinking about that. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
And that's why I'm very cautious when people are buying their own home. Look, I'm not against you buying a home, but what I am against is you buying a home that's above your means, right? And it's easy to do. You walk into that house, smells fresh and new. You start seeing the kids playing in their little rooms and pitter patter of the feet and all that other good stuff. And it's great. Yeah. And you're like, man, you just fall in love with this. You walked into the first house and it was the perfect house. This was my house. And then next thing you used to paying like $1,000 of rent. You coming out of pocket $3,000 a month. And then usually the husband and the wife, they look at each other and they be like, oh, we gonna make it work. And then like 3 months from now, they fighting because they didn't make it work. You know why? Because habits die hard. You used to going to the movies. You used to doing this, going to the zoo, this, that, and the other. You going to still do those things 3 months. After a while, you ain't going to be wanting to be in that house. No matter how nice that house is, you going to want to be out.
What's the term? House rich. You house rich. That's all you can do.
I call it house poor.
Yep. There you go.
You house poor.
Yep.
I was just going to say, when you say it like that, it makes more sense. I guess I've always thought that it's better to pay your own mortgage versus somebody else's.
Me too.
But I get what you're saying. It's just better to pay an affordable mortgage versus living out of your means.
Yes. So at the end of the day, if you tell me, hey, I'm paying $1,000 a month in rent, and then the home that you want is like $1,300 or $300 more than what then I could probably look at your tax return and see that somehow when it's all said and done, you're paying the same. But don't forget, when something breaks in your apartment, you ain't got to pay to get that fixed. Or something breaking in your home, you paying for that. So your expenses are going up.
So one of the things I also try to teach people to do is practice like they own the home before they own the home. So if you think you're going to be able to afford $1,300, a month, you need to be able to put at least $500 more than that just to handle the hot water heater breaking, your kids. If you have little kids, I mean, I can take you through my house right now. They just terrorize my house. I don't even know. I don't even know.
Hey, listen, bro. It don't stop when they get older. I got grown kids. I got grown kids, and there's some appliances and stuff that I probably need to replace. But I said, until these kids leave this house, I ain't replacing nothing. Just so they can tear it up? No.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, that's crayon on the wall. I'm going to go in here and paint it so they can take crayon to it again?
Sounding like your parents. I know.
So
they're going to leave the house. They're going to come back, see new furniture, new appliances. They'll be like, where was this? Like, y'all to leave.
Got rid of you gremlins. Yeah. Got rid of you gremlins.
When I first bought my house, I had never lived in a house before. And I wish somebody had told me how expensive it was going to be just to own a home. Like the first snowstorm, I was trapped in my house because I didn't have a shovel to shovel my driveway.
I don't even think about that. That's true.
I had to dig my car out with a windshield scraper so that I could go to the Home Depot to buy a shovel to shovel my driveway. I didn't know how to use a lawnmower. I had to get a guy. I was like, I used to wonder how Home Depot stayed in business. And now I'm like, man, I'm in here spending hundreds of dollars every time I turn around. I'm like, now I know.
Yeah, and like I said, I think we talk about the wealth gap often, but I think there's a knowledge gap that we talked about, right? But I think there's also an access gap too. So in the past, there was different home ownership vehicles that the government gave that they gave to other people and not to us, right? And what I worry about now is the government passed this huge bill that's going to help the small business owners, right? And we know that you talked about it, Armand, you talked about small businesses and owning a small business and having that diversity in income streams. But are we going to get our piece of that legislation to help our small businesses stay afloat? The barbers we talk about, the massage therapists, the beauticians, who are really small business owners, they could take advantage of that. But are we going to have the knowledge to be able to say, okay, how do I follow through and get that? And will we have the access? Because I don't know about y'all, where I live at, oftentimes when you go to these different county clerks, these little government entities, it's not people that look like us who are filling out the paperwork and passing the paperwork along. It's other people, and they're looking out for theirs and not us. So that's my concern with the current times. Are we going to be able to get access to those things that will help us get through this pandemic?
So I've been helping people with that a little bit, passing that information. I know Rico was about to talk, and I just bow.
It's not good.
But
they used to it. I talk over them all the time.
Yeah, it's a little inside joke. That's why we started laughing. That's how that's Marv every day.
But if you're a small business owner, or even if you are self-employed or an independent contractor, which means that you get a 1099. And so like I'm working with one of my friends right now. He's a comedian, and he gets 1099 at the end of the year, things of that nature. You can apply for the payroll protection program. And there's also I forget the name of the other way. There's a $10,000 grant that you can also apply for if you have been negatively impacted and you're a business owner, or you have people on your payroll. You can apply for this loan. I literally this morning, because I have a broker that I work with, and I sent my application through him, and I contacted my bank that I work with, and then they sent me the paperwork, and then I submitted the paperwork through them too. So, and the application is not hard. I mean, they're backlogged, but if you are a 1099, you own a barbershop, and if you don't know what a 1099 is, then it's basically a form that the company, the contractor that pays you, they will give that to you at the end of the year. You file your tax return, and you basically are self-employed. You can apply for this loan, and I'm telling you to go and apply for this loan, right? So they're not supposed to discriminate because you're Black, and I get it. The fear is I go into this bank, and they got one section for the white people and one section for the Black people, and they see you come in with the bank, and they go, whoop, whoop, Oh, yeah, we get to yours, dog. Don't worry about it. But you know what? Back in the day when, they gave us the right to vote and not all of our votes were counted, our ancestors made it a point to go ahead and vote. Uh, just because, hey, you gave me that right. I don't know if you're going to count it, but I'm going to vote anyway. Apply anyway. Don't let that fear stop you. Apply anyway. Apply to multiple places if they allow you. The question you should ask is, are you accepting applications from people who you don't bank with? And then put in an application like that with them. So it's a slow grind. I know other business owners who haven't got that long. I imagine it's going to take 3 to 6 months probably to even see that money. That is what it is. Also, while we're on this topic, before I finally let Arika speak, but the stimulus that they are sending out right now, if single person, $1,200, if you're married, $2,400, and if you have kids, $500 per kids, right? If in 2018 you made less money, you should not file your taxes until you get your check. Then when you get your check, you can file your taxes.
Break that down. Break that down so everybody understands what you're saying. Break it down.
So, all right. So if you're single and you make less than $75,000, and if you made less than $75,000 in 2018, and in 2019 you made 90, let's just say you had a good year, you should not file your taxes. You should let the government pay you off of 2018 versus 2019, because in 2019 they're not gonna pay you. In 2018, and they just extended the filing deadline to July 15th. So you want to wait till you get your stimulus check before you file so you can get your $1,200. Now, if you're married, you have to make less than $150,000. So again, same math. If you made less than $150,000 in 2018, but you made $175,000 in 2019 as a married couple, then you want to wait to file your taxes to get your check.
I'm going to say, going along with that pride thing that we were talking about earlier, I think that that's another reason, not just access and knowledge, that we don't take advantage of some of the resources that are being offered. Because even as like a 1099 employee and whatnot, I think people's first mind is, well, I'm okay right now, so I'm not going to apply for unemployment or for, the business loan and stuff like that. And I think that's something that our people do that other people don't do. When the government launches these programs, I think everybody else is like, let me be first in line to get a check, whether I need it or not. They're offering it, I'm taking it. And we're like, let me see if I can make it. And then if I really need it, then I'll ask for it. And I think that's a mistake. I think that, like you said, it could be weeks or months before any of this money starts coming in. So don't wait until you're starving and struggling to start applying for these benefits. It's important for us to go ahead and start applying for it now so that we can be first in line like everybody else is going to try to be.
I think that's that mind game that they play with us. You look in the 80s and you looked at Ronald Reagan, and when they talked about the welfare queens, what was the image that they put out? Black women. When the people who are the biggest welfare queens aren't black, and they fail to mention the farmers who every year get assistance from the government, right? Wall Street, who gets bailed out, but we're the face of welfare, right? Come on now, miss me with all that. So yeah, Enrique, you're absolutely right. Play the game just like everybody else is playing the game. Don't let them psych you out and keep us boxed out from what everybody else is doing.
And if I can add on that just a little bit, number one, I learned a long time ago, pride. I have pride in my family. I have pride in my wife. I'm going to protect them, this, that, and the other. I don't have any shame when it comes to what other people are thinking about me, this, that, and the other. The name of the game is to try to build wealth for me, my wife, and my kids. The end. So I don't have pride in the way my shoes look. I don't have pride in the way my clothes look. I don't have pride in any of that stuff. What I have pride in is the fact that I'm comfortable right now with my wife and my kids. And my kids are not feeling the effects of this pandemic in the sense that they're worried about food on the table or something along those lines. That's the pride I'm going to go into. And another thing that I'm going to add to this is when you do get your $1,200 check or your $2,400, this, that, and the other, invest that. If you don't really need the money, invest that money. Put that money in something that's going to work for you. A startup for your own business or something along those lines. Don't go out and buy crap. Is what I call materialistic. We become slaves to material things. Don't be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna buy that. I've always wanted this, so I'm gonna get that. No, put that money somewhere. When I joined the Navy, they gave us like a $5,000 bonus check. I invested that entire $5,000 bonus, forgot about that money. And this is a true story. As a financial advisor, I invested that money, thought I had transferred it over to the new company, never did. Next thing you know, I got like a 1099 statement, and that joint had like $17,000 in there, like 10, 15 years later. I flipped that, used that to buy a rental property. So now that rental property pays me $300 a month, and I pulled cash out of the house and used it to put down on my mortgage, pay the mortgage down a little bit more. So now, that money is coming in, paying me residual income. So you need to think along those lines when you get that check, if you don't really need it. Now, obviously, if you need the money to feed your family, things of that nature, then yes, use it for that. But if you don't really need it, but you just made below that and you did a good job living below your means, think about where you can put that money that's going to grow.
When you mentioned the 1099 workers, so what if someone has a regular W-2 job, but they also have a 1099 job as well? So part of their income comes from 1099. Would they still be able to qualify for those type loans and so forth?
Just off that 1099. Yep. Not with the W-2, but with the 1099. Yep.
Okay.
How do you feel about, people utilizing credit cards? I remember a long time ago, I worked with a doctor who said he rarely uses his own money. He would rather use the bank's money. Like, for example, I had to go to Lowe's today, and it only came up to like $400. But in my head, I was thinking, should I go ahead and put this on a credit card, or should I spend my money? I am blessed now that I am still working, but we just never know what the future holds. So what is your recommendation?
I don't like credit cards at all. And we have what is called a family credit card in our house that is meant for the family, so that we can buy plane tickets and buy big ticket items and then pay it back. Just especially if I got to put something on the internet. I rather than take money from the credit card, and I can call the credit card company and be like, "Hey, that wasn't me," and it didn't come right on my my bank account. But I'm not big on the rewards. Those who do it right can get rewards. So I would hate to recommend, in a general setting, recommend someone to use credit card for rewards unless I knew for a fact that they were very good with a budget. Because when you use your credit card, that is when you get in trouble. So I don't know who that man was, but maybe he was very good at using his credit card, paying it off, and that's good. My other problem with using a credit card is, again, when you're using like my budgeting system and things of that nature, when some of my clients use a credit card instead of using their checking account or this, that, and the other, it's really hard to figure out how much money you spend per month and what you actually can afford. It's really hard to get in tune with, well, do I need $5,000 a month, or do I need $3,000 a month? What do I actually need to live where I have the kind of quality of life that I want to have, that me and my family are pretty much fine? And so until you can kind of get in tune and in the groove, especially when you're married, that's particularly hard when you got four hands in the pot, right? Like I don't know from one day to the next exactly what my wife is buying, and she don't know from one day to the next what exactly. I might just stop off at the grocery store and have a craving for some Cheez-Its or something along those lines. I don't know. So when you have it all in the same account and you can see the money being drawn down, then you kind of get an idea of, okay, I need $5,000 per month. So if you go to my website and you obviously buy the ebook that I wrote, it really talks in depth about my cash flow system, and you'll probably get a good understanding as to why I don't like credit cards at all. Because I think the thing that really causes people problem is not knowing what their budget really is and what they actually can afford. And that's what ends up happening when you buy too much home, or you buy too much car, or you buy too much, anything. You don't really know or have a true understanding of what.
Now, tell people where they can find your book. What's the name, the title of the book, everything. Tell them where they can find you and all that.
Right now, it's at thefinancialeffect.com, that website, and then it's under the product section. And the book is just called The Financial Effect. It's just an ebook, real quick, just an instructional on cash flow. If you subscribe, you'll get a budget worksheet, and then you'll also get a financial planning worksheet, and you'll actually get a debt reduction schedule. So if you're in debt, it will show you, you put all your debt in, and it'll show you how fast you will pay off your debt. And in the book, it will tell you how to set it up so that you can pay your debt off even faster.
Now, what made you get into personal finance?
Oh man, that's a long story. I'm gonna cut to the chase to this one. I was in the Navy, and I particularly don't like being yelled at, and I don't like people telling me what to do. I had a degree in finance from Tulane University, and I like talking about money. So I tried my hand at financial planning, and the rest is pretty much history. I mean, there's situations where that company that claimed to be independent contractors still like to tell you what to do. So then I switched to someone else, and then they wanted to tell me what to do. And then I started Croom Financial because apparently I really don't like being told what to do.
The importance of that story is what I tell my kids all the time is education and believing in yourself. And education first and foremost, because we talked about how the lack of knowledge and how that hurts us, but education gives you options. So you have one situation, then went to the next, and then you say, you know what, I believe in myself, I'm gonna start on my own. And when you don't have the education, you don't have the ability to do that. And then you are stuck with, unfortunately, how many of us in our community are stuck with, I gotta go to work because they're saying I'm essential and they're not doing this right, they're not giving us gloves, they're not giving us masks, and it goes back to us being particularly vulnerable because of the lack of access through generations that we haven't had to education, to wealth building, and everything that goes along with it. So, because I know a lot of young brothers who need to hear that, because when you said that, you remind me of my son, and if he ever listens to this, he'll be angry, but hopefully he'll listen to it as a grown man. That being defiant, it can hurt you in some regards, but it can also turn out positive. And I think you are an example of how that can turn out positive. How you're like, you know what, I want to do what I want to do, but I want to do it the right way. And I think you should really think about telling your story to more young brothers, because I think you could be a benefit that way.
Well, I will also say, just to speak on that, there's a quiet defiance, right, that we need to learn, right? So we always try to, we get in part of a group or, a situation, and we want to voice our opinion and convince somebody to change their company, their way, this, that, and the other. You can offer up suggestions and things of that nature, knowing that they're not going to listen to you. But, you're there to learn. And then once you have outgrown them and you have learned, I mean, one of the things I will say is one thing, you're quietly defiant, but you're willing to accept advice from all different places, right? Like they're successful for their reason and she's successful for her reason. You watch, you learn, and be quiet, defiant. You don't need to let everybody know that you're not happy where you are or anything along those lines until you, like that one commercial, she baked a cake and said, I quit. I'm out. And then it's a shock. We're like, what? Oh my God, you're leaving us? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I've hated y'all for like 3 years.
That commercial, yeah.
A lot of people like to just be yelling and screaming and all that other good stuff. That's never been my MO. I've been verbally abused and things of that nature.
I think that's another thing that us as Black people do. Like, what's the first thing we do? I'll burn this motherfucker.
No.
Yeah, ain't gonna do nothing, because when they say, all right, go ahead and leave. No, because you live in check to check and you need that job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you need to be listening to what Armand is talking about so you can actually do those things. Don't burn it down. Don't burn it down, but you can leave.
You need to start living below your means. You need to start living below your means, saving your ducats, getting used to, living within a certain budget and strategizing what it's going to look like when you leave. That might take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but whatever. The other thing I will also say is when I did leave the Navy and started my own, I'd rather be broke than work for somebody else. And so put me in a studio apartment, right now, just give me some wine, studio apartment. I'm good. That's
You
That's
got
not-
3 little girls.
Listen,
You would
that-
last about 5 minutes in a studio apartment. You need to
Exactly.
stop with that tree right there.
I said that's a different. You can do that when you solo dolo. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Well, I was talking to his son. I was talking to his son. I was talking to his son. That's why I tell the young, but now me,
You got to be
right,
specific.
so for me right now, like, we could downsize if we had to, but that's why I'm very protective about the money. That's why I'm saying it's not about the car. It's not about the house, this, that, and the other. Now it's about making sure that the ship doesn't have holes and that I don't have to revert back to anything. And so you always have to kind of keep that in mind with your money, just to try to make sure, okay, I always say don't upgrade your spouse until you can afford the upgrade, right? Whoever in your house is over the money, right? Who's in charge of the money? Don't buy the 5,000 square foot house, because when you go to your spouse and say, oh man, we need to move back to the 2,000 square feet, it's going to be a problem.
Man.
Right? So till you can comfortably afford the 5,000 square foot house, you ain't moving. I'm not doing it.
Especially if you a black man and you got a black wife.
Ain't gonna boy.
I knew he was about to say it.
It don't matter.
The end of it.
It don't matter. It don't matter if you have made 59 mortgage payments. If you miss that 60th payment, she gonna be looking at you like,
yeah. So
what you gonna do? See what I'm saying? So you better be able to handle it.
So I remember me and my wife kind of got into it when it was time to get her new car. And look, I don't care what car you get, but I'm not spending over 20 grand. I don't get what you want, but I'm not dropping over 20 grand.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah, you can get a good car for that.
I mean, here's the thing. When you buy those expensive cars, when you buy like the Infinities and Mercedes and this, that, and the other, the upkeep is what's going to get you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's when you take it to the shop, you got to pay $2,000 to get it fixed. Are you going to have $2,000? Right. And then the other question is, if you're the financial leader in your house, I'm trying to make this gender neutral because I know plenty of women who are the financial leaders in their house. Right. Who going to have to come up with that $2,000? Is it going to be her or is it going to be me? Oh, it's going to be me. So guess what? Right. We ain't spending over $20,000. That's right. Because you gonna daggum sure look at me and be like, where we gonna get it?
That credit card.
And that's when the credit card. That's why I say don't upgrade your spouse until you can afford it, because the person who's not really paying attention to the money don't typically understand. Right. And one of the things that I will also tell you is, if you are self-employed, if you are a business owner, your spouse, unless they are self-employed or a business owner of their own, do not understand what you go through every day. You can explain it to them. You can talk to you blue in the face, but they don't understand the fact that you made $10,000 one month and $2,000 the next. They don't understand how you are trying to make sure that your cash flow is working and all that other good. They don't understand it because you know why? They get the W-2, they get the check on time, first and the 15, boom, done. So when they get that money in that account, they see $10,000. Let's roll. And by the way, boy, get out there and do it again. So you gotta
right.
you gotta be really careful. Yeah. So you got it's a mindset that a lot of people don't have, and that's why I started doing the blog, to try to get people's mindset to change. Those who are really interested in changing their mindset, because black people, we're making money, but are we doing the right things? I mean, in my own financial practice, I probably have maybe 3 clients that are black, and so I mean, and then when it comes time to hire me, they don't trust me because this is not something that we have done. I mean, most black people don't have financial advisors. It's not, they just don't. But
that's a good point, though. You're right. A lot of black people probably don't trust you. Like, I'd rather go give my money to Skip.
I'd rather go give my money to Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Get ripped off by the white man. That's what they think.
And then when I say that my fee is this amount or my fee is that, they're like, wait, so I'm going to pay you X amount. So, that's another discussion to have, is paying for the help to get you where you want to go. So like, I have all this information. Oh, you want to buy a real property? I know these people over here. Oh, you want to refinance? Okay, well, you need to do this over here. Let me talk to my man right here over here. My job as a financial planner is to connect you with the people to get you where you want to go. The hard part is finding someone that you trust and willing to pay and all of the good stuff. So,
well, I hope that our audience has definitely listened and taken notes, and we'll come back to this show because I think you dropped a lot of knowledge, and I appreciate you. Thank you for coming to the show. We want to make sure everybody goes to Instagram and Facebook, and make sure you follow Armand, The Financial Effect. That's with an EFFECT. And we'll make sure that we're going to have you back, sir, because we often talk about wealth, the racial wealth gap, and we need to make sure that we're putting that knowledge out so that people are able to start. This is going to test a lot of people. The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, is going to test a lot of people's wherewithal. But the good thing about it is we as Black people, we've been through stuff like this before. We know how to buckle down, and we know how to get through tough times because that's nothing but what this country has given us, tough times. So we'll be all right. We'll get through it. And part of what we've been doing, just so you know, this is our third show on the topic. We started off on how to protect yourself physically from COVID-19, how to protect your mental health. And now we're talking about finances. So we're doing what we're doing to enlighten and enrich and empower our people. And we appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll definitely have you back. Okay, sir?
thank you, sir, for having me. I appreciate it. I feel blessed just being here with you guys.
All right. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and end the show. Make sure you follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. And make sure you subscribe to the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, basically wherever you can find the show. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Peace. Bye.
Bye.
Holla.